Ladies and gentlemen, the 45th President of the United States and soon to be the 47th President of the United States, please welcome Donald J. Trump.
Magnificent. Fantastic. Love every second of it. Go Donald Trump and go Vance. Thank you, Jesus. USA, you better believe it. USA, let's all get together. God's will be done.
Please welcome Mark Laws from Cedar Springs, Michigan.
A pretty amazing scene there as the 45th president hoping to be the 47th president of the United States.
Fight.
Walking in, and there you see the first time we see the ticket, Trump Vance, with J.D. Vance being announced the vice presidential nominee today. We've got an amazing team here alongside us: Britt Hume, Dana Perino, and Harold Ford Jr. Britt, we haven't seen a moment like this.
No, I've covered a lot of these. I've always loved all this hoopla, and ever since Lee Greenwood made that song popular more than 40 years ago, it's been an anthem of the Republican Party, particularly the Reagan era, and now it is back. And I suppose you couldn't have picked a song that would work this crowd up any better than that one did as he was making his entrance here tonight. That bandage on his left ear being the, or his right ear, excuse me, being the result of what could have been an assassin's successful bullet.
I mean, it's a stunning moment, Dana. 2 days ago, this man came within a millimeter of losing his life in a very violent manner. And we just watched him walk in these hallways, and you could feel this crowd just building and building. And he does have that bandage over his ear, the mark of that bullet.
I haven't felt energy like this in a long time. And then we've been here, and there's been no one in the crowd. Tonight is the first night, and it is electric. I remember the pitch in 2004 at the Madison Square Garden. Unbelievable moment for me. This is just as much for me like that, but even more, the energy in the room is incredible. He's got his VP pick, and he is strong and standing, and this crowd is so grateful. They are ready to fight for him for sure.
He appeared to be moved tonight, you know, in a pensive way that, you know, we're so used to seeing him fired up and pumping his
Yeah, he looked a little grim.
He looked
Teary-eyed almost.
Yeah.
teary-eyed almost. I would agree.
Emotional.
I would agree. Yeah.
Harold, your thoughts?
You know, 52 hours ago, the president was shot. And I remember where I was with my kids in my kitchen watching. I'm not a supporter of the president's politics. I know him personally and I like him. But you couldn't help but feel a rush of patriotism and pride and gratitude watching him walk in that hallway and walk onto this floor. He's a different guy than he was 52 hours ago. He looked a little different. He didn't look weak. He looked a little different. And I couldn't have been prouder for him. We'll now have to get into a race where we'll talk about the differences between the parties, talk about the differences between the vice presidential candidates. But this moment here is one that I think all of us want to linger a little bit as we watch the 45th President of the United States walk into this Republican hall tonight.
You know, each one of these speeches is different. There's a couple of people on here that they're calling EDAs, everyday Americans, that they want to hear from. Let's listen in to one of them right now speaking in the hall.
I don't do that. It's not prices keep going up, but my income stays the same. I just keep putting things off, hoping that I'll be able to afford them again someday. It's got me thinking, I've been hoping for better days, but life is happening right now, and we can't waste any more time on the big boy Joe terrible economic policies. We need to bring Donald Trump back right now. We need to know and share the 20 promises that Donald Trump has made. We need to get involved with the Trump 47. And you remember, ballots win elections, so that's the best way to do it. I know a lot of folks just kind of tune the politics out, but we really can't afford to anymore, because we're not living in the same country that we grew up in. Cutesy time is over. We need to, all of us, put our shoulder to the wheel and push along and get Mr. Trump, Donald Trump, to be number 47 again. Thank you, and God bless America.
Money. The cost of groceries is forcing many seniors to choose between food and their prescriptions. Their Social Security isn't keeping up with inflation. And thanks to Biden and Harris's open border disaster, allowing
We're going to see a number of these everyday Americans take the stage tonight and talk about their experience living under the Biden administration, and you're going to hear them making their voices known in terms of what policy changes they would like to see. And we're just, sort of still taking in the president as he sits here chatting with Byron Donalds now of Florida. And many of the people who are in this arena tonight, or several of them, I should say, were also on the vice presidential list. But he's making it clear in embracing their presence here tonight that they may play a role as well.
We should talk about that. J.D. Vance, that's the big selection today. Senator from Ohio, Marine, father of three, lawyer, somebody who speaks to MAGA and that crowd. He's a real advocate at Rust Belt states for it, and will be an advocate on the road, maybe even a pit bull for this press.
Well, we saw tonight in this interview he did with Sean Hannity, at considerable length, why it was that Donald Trump would choose him. He's spectacularly articulate. He's well informed. He makes the case for himself and for the ticket probably as well as anybody can. So you can see the upside with him, and it was very clear in that interview. And he got the question, right? The question that a lot of people are going to ask: how did you go from being an ardent, hardcore never-Trumper, saying the most extraordinarily strong things against Trump in 2016, to the Trump running mate and defender you are now? And the answer he gave was, Trump proved me wrong. I'm not sure a lot of people will be satisfied with that answer, but I think that's the best answer he could have given.
He got the call, Dana, we were told, about 20 minutes before the Truth Social hit. This was really a pretty good secret that was kept, and almost in an apprentice-like rollout for this choice. What do you think of J.D. Vance?
Well, here's the thing. I loved his book, Hillbilly Elegy, and I think for a lot of people that read it or watched the movie above, kind of know who he is. They might have fallen off and not paid too much attention to the politics of the past couple of years. They're about to relearn a little bit more about him. It's interesting because we do this all the time, so we're very familiar with him. America's not necessarily. When they learn about this story, I think they will be very moved. I do think that President
President Trump had already won the voters that he could get. So I believe
But the choice is one that Trump said, this is who I want to see every day. This is who I can trust
to carry out my vision and my policies.
Let's listen in to this everyday American Benjamin Joseph. He's trying to buy a starter home with his wife. Take a listen.
Succeeding. He knew we could create millions of great jobs if given the chance, and we did. The Trump's tax cuts and regulation cuts empowered entrepreneurs like you and me and enabled us to expand our businesses. We need him back in the White House. As a representative of Michigan at this convention, I want to give a special Michigander thank you to President Trump for being our champion. He has inspired so many of us, even in this room, to step up and get involved in the fight to save America. With his leadership and our help, we will make America affordable again, wealthy again, and great again. May God bless each and every one of you.
A young man who is trying to buy a home like so many Americans across the country, having a hard time doing it. Bill Hemmer is watching all of this from the floor. And Bill, give us a sense. We could feel it so intensely up here, but I'm sure you felt it quite probably shake the floor down there.
Yeah, good evening to you, Martha and Brett. It's a bit extraordinary to stare across this arena and think that just 52 hours ago, Donald Trump was screaming, "Let me get my shoes. Let me get my shoes," from underneath that podium in Butler, Pennsylvania. Really incredible. And I think, we count the hours. It's not even days now. It's hours still, since that sniper's bullet just grazed his right ear. Here down on the floor, I will say, from my position here, I can see 3 large monitors. And the monitors have the teleprompter in them. And I've been covering conventions going back to the year 2000, the RNC and George Bush in Philadelphia, and the thinking is that Democrats have a very good message and they stick to the message, and Republicans don't. And that's the main reason why there was a memo that went out yesterday afternoon from the leadership of Trump's campaign that said, stick to the script. And for the most part tonight, Martha, that has been the case. They have stuck to the script. And the theme is Make America Wealthy Again. They have hammered that theme relentlessly, talking about gas prices and grocery prices, and that continues now into the 10 o'clock hour Eastern time. Back up to you upstairs.
All right, Bill, we're listening to Amber Rose, American model. She's saying why she supports former President Trump. Listen to her.
I know this because for a long time I believed those lies, so I'm here to set the record straight. The first person I knew who supported Donald Trump was my father. I was shocked. My entire family is racially diverse, and I believed the left-wing propaganda that Donald Trump was a racist. My father said, "No, he's not, Amber. What are you talking about?" And when I insisted, he said, "Prove it." So to prove my father wrong, I did my research and looked into all things Donald Trump. People have to do their research. I watched all the rallies, and I started meeting so many of you, his red hat wearing supporters. I realized Donald Trump and his supporters don't care if you're black, white, gay, or straight. It's all love. And that's when it hit me. These are my people. This is where I belong.
Amen.
So I let go of my fear of judgment of being misunderstood, of getting attacked by the left, and I put the red hat on too. Thank you. Love you too. I never felt more free and more love for my country than I do now. I want to thank my father, who's in the audience tonight, for opening my eyes. He served over 20 years in the U.S. military. Thank you for your service, Dad. Yeah. I love you, Dad. I love you. I love you so much. Thank you. When I met the President and Melania for the first time, he was kind and generous and funny as hell. Very funny. The First Lady was gracious and smart with a smile that will brighten up any room. If you're watching this tonight, you know our country is in trouble. Just like me. When you go to the store and buy food for your family, you're shocked. When you fill up your gas tank, you're pissed. I know I am. When you turn on the news, you are just exhausted. Inflation is out of control, and you know in your heart it was not like this under Donald Trump. My message to you tonight comes from a humble place. The left told me to hate Trump, and even worse, to hate the other side, the people who support him. When you cut through the lies, you realize the truth. American families were better when Donald Trump was president. We were safer, wealthier, and stronger. A vote for Donald Trump is a vote to put money back in our pockets and good food on our kids' plates. Yes. Or, as Trump would say, it's a vote to make America great again. Thank you so much.
Please welcome
Amber Rose, and now we'll hear from another EDA, Everyday American. Please.
16 years ago, I left Nicaragua for a better life in a fabulous Las Vegas, Nevada. America welcomed me, and I embraced the values of hard work, learning the language, and respecting the laws. It's the American thing to do. In 2022, my 3 boys and I faced a devastating house fire. We lost everything. And starting over in Joe Biden's economy was almost impossible. The Biden economy is driving prices through the roof. Rent, gas, groceries, everything. As a life insurance worker, I see the struggle of people trying to save for their future while barely managing their basic needs. I'm living that same struggle every day. Life is too hard right now. One of my sons works 3 jobs and the other holds down 2. That makes 6 jobs for 3 people just to survive in Biden's economy. Our open borders are making this problem worse. It's upsetting to see millions of dollars being sent to help immigrants who came here illegally, while hardworking families who did it the right way are left struggling. The fact is that illegal immigration hurts legal immigrants the most. The is backwards and broken. Inviting American opportunities to get ahead are dwindling, and our education system is failing our children. What happened to teaching reading, writing, and math? Now, it's like our kids are getting a degree in pronoun studies. He, she, they, them. I have expected my son to come home with a diploma in advanced day 10 theory. Life was completely different under President Trump. We prospered. To my beloved Latino community, it's time to wake up and smell the cafecito. In 2020, I made a mistake that is hard to admit, especially in this room. In 2020, I voted for Joe Biden. I'm sorry. He has made me regret it. This November, my vote won't be taken for granted. And this time, I won't regret it. Please join me in voting for Donald J. Trump.
Way to go. We learned in a little time.
President of the International Brotherhood of Teamsters, Sean O'Brien.
Greetings, delegates and guests. I'm Sean O'Brien, General President of the International Brotherhood of Teamsters. I'd like to give my peeps from the greatest state in the nation, Massachusetts, some props. What's up? First, I want to thank the hard-working Teamsters and union members here in Milwaukee who played vital roles in the building and operations of this convention. I also want to thank President Donald Trump for opening the RNC's doors to the Teamsters Union and inviting me to speak before you tonight. I travel all across this country and meet with my members every week. You know what I see? An American worker being taken for granted. Workers being sold out to big banks, big tech, corporates, and the elite. And I'm not the only one who sees this. Everyday families see it. The American people aren't stupid. They know the system is broken. We all know how Washington is run. Working people have no chance of winning this fight. That's why I'm here today. Because I refuse to keep doing the same things my predecessors did.
That's right. And I thank the Teamsters for letting me drive a truck while in college.
We are not beholden to anyone or any party. We will create an agenda and work with a bipartisan coalition ready to accomplish something real for the American worker. And I don't care about getting criticized. It's an honor to be the first Teamster in our 121-year history to address the Republican National Convention.
Amen.
Several months ago, I asked the RNC and the DNC for the opportunity to speak. To be frank, when President Trump invited me to speak at this convention, there was political unrest on the left and on the right. Hard to believe. Anti-union groups demanded the president rescind his invitation. The left called me a traitor. And this is precisely why it's so important for me to be here today. Think about this. Think about this. The Teamsters are doing something correct. If the extremes in both parties think I shouldn't be on this stage. President Trump had the backbone to open the doors to this Republican convention, and that's unprecedented. No other nominee in the race would have invited the Teamsters into this arena. Now, you can have whatever opinion you want, but one thing is clear. President Trump is a candidate who is not afraid of hearing from new, loud, and often critical voices. And I think we all can agree, whether people like him or they don't like him, in light of what happened to him on Saturday, he has proven to be one tough SOB.
Now, that wasn't necessary, but I understand. Yeah, I got dispensation from the Teamsters Union to drive a truck through about 17 counties in central Kentucky, making a living to pay for my college education.
Now,
that's no biscuit company.
The presidency of the Teamsters in a national election 2.5 years ago, we started reaching across the aisle. In the past, the Teamsters have endorsed GOP candidates, including Nixon, Reagan, and George H.W. Bush. But over the last 40 years, the Republican Party has really pursued strong relationships with organized labor. There are some in the party who stand in active opposition to labor unions. This too must change. And I want to be clear. At the end of the day, the Teamsters are not interested if you have a D, R, or an I next to your name. We want to know one thing. What are you doing to help American workers? As a negotiator, I know that no window or door should ever be permanently shut. In my administration, the Teamsters reached out to 8 Republican senators who stood up for railroad Teamsters over our fight for paid sick leave. Josh Hawley was one of them. We started talking. Senator Hawley changed his position on national right to work. Then we started walking. Senator Hawley walked a Teamsters picket line in St. Louis and a UAW picket line in Wentzville, Missouri. More than that, I want to recognize Senator Hawley for his direct, relentless, and pointed questioning of corporate talking heads, lawyers, CEOs, and apologists. He has shown he is not willing to accept their pillaging of working people's pocketbooks. I know from a career in negotiating that you get nowhere by slamming your fist on the table. The first step is to listen. The Teamsters and the GOP may not agree on many issues, but a growing group has shown the courage to sit down and consider points of view that aren't funded by big money think tanks. Senators like J.D. Vance, Roger Marshall, and Representatives Nicole Maliotakis, Mike Lawler, and Brian Fitzpatrick are among elected officials who truly care about working people. And this group is expanding and is putting fear into those who have monopolized our very broken system in America today. There are far too many people on both sides of the aisle still caught up in knee-jerk reactions to unions, who subscribe to the same tired claptrap that unions destroy American companies. Take a moment to consider United Parcel Service, which is the largest private sector logistics company, and it's been unionized for more than 100 years. More than 350,000 Teamsters make it run. We work for good middle-class wages, quality health care, and secure pensions. There are work rules that ensure fairness and due process for both sides. UPS is the most efficient package delivery company in the world.
They are very good.
But let's not forget that UPS doesn't provide these great wages and benefits out of the kindness of its heart. UPS does it because the Teamsters fight for it, all 350,000 of us. You know, corporatists hate when working people join together to form unions. But for a century, major employers have waged a war against labor by forming corporate unions of their own. We need to call the Chamber of Commerce and the business roundtables what they are. They are unions for big business. And here's another fact. Against gigantic multinational corporation, an individual worker has zero power. It's only when Americans band together in democratic unions that we win real improvements on wages, benefits, and working conditions. Companies like Amazon are bigger than most national economies. Amazon is valued over $2 trillion. That makes it the 14th largest economy in the world. What is sickening is that Amazon has abandoned any national allegiance. Amazon's sole focus is on lining its own pockets. Remember, elites have no party, elites have no nation. Their loyalty is to the balance sheet and the stock price at the expense of the American worker. In my office in Washington, D.C., I can see the United States Capitol from my window. I see well-intentioned people arrive in Washington and get eaten up by an unforgiving system. The responsibility to average Americans takes a back seat. The objective now becomes survival. Fundraiser after fundraiser. Corporate consultants hedge every initiative. The Hill crawls with lifers, bouncing from government jobs to corporate jobs and back again. I think we can all agree D.C. is a pretty treacherous area. Most legislation is never meant to go anywhere, and it's all talk. And in America, talk isn't cheap. It's very expensive, and it comes at the cost of our own country. Working people know our system is broken. The elites are not laboring on behalf of workers. There is a political caste system that prevents citizens from accessing their representatives to hold them accountable. For a moment in time, working people in America were seen as essential. Sadly, it took a global pandemic for political and corporate elites to notice this fact. But ask yourself this question. Since the end of the pandemic, when was the last time you heard major news outlets regularly refer to workers as essential? You haven't. The men and women who provide goods and services, deliver packages, stock grocery shelves, care for patients, pick up your trash, and keep our communities safe are taken for granted. All the while, the stock market booms, housing prices hit record highs, and corporate salaries skyrocket. But the income of everyday Americans are shrinking in the face of inflation. At the gas pumps, at the grocery store, with the electrical bill, and with the car insurance. This has got to change.
Amen, brother, amen.
Never forget, American workers own this nation. We are not renters. We are not tenants. But the corporate elite treat us like squatters, and that is a crime. We've got to fix it. Now this will shock you. This will shock you. To paraphrase Senator Mark Wayne Mullen, it's time for both sides of Congress to stand their butts up. We need trade policies that put American workers first. It needs to be easier for companies to remain in America. We need legal protections that make it safer for workers to get a contract. We must stop corporations from abandoning local communities to inflate their bottom line. We need meaningful bankruptcy reform. Today, corporate vultures buy up companies like Yellow Freight with the intent of driving them into bankruptcy and feasting on their remains. The courts leave workers begging for crumbs as third-tier creditors. Labor law must be reformed. Americans vote for a union but can never get a union contract. Companies fire workers who try to join unions and hide behind toothless laws that are meant to protect working people but are manipulated to benefit corporations. This is economic terrorism at its best. An individual cannot withstand such an assault. A fired worker cannot afford corporate delays, and these greedy employers know it. There are no consequences for the company, only the worker. We need corporate welfare reform. Under our current system, massive companies like Amazon, Uber, Lyft, and Walmart take zero responsibilities for the workers they employ. These companies offer no real health insurance, no retirement benefits, no paid leave, relying on underfunded public assistance. And who foots the bill? The individual taxpayer. The biggest recipients of welfare in this country are corporations, and this is real corruption. We must put workers first. What could be more important to the security of our nation than a long-term investment in the American worker? In 2021, Teamsters nationwide elected me to fight for them, and that's precisely what I'm doing. Something is wrong in this country, and we need to say it out loud. I will always speak for America and the American worker, both union and non-union. I challenge each and every one of you, and especially my friends on the Democratic side, to embrace cooperation, to truly collaborate, to achieve meaningful and productive change, to ensure we make this great nation, in this world, the bigger, faster, and strongest nation in the entire world.
Amen.
I love this country. The Teamsters love this country. Our 1.3 million members move America on the roads, in the ports, on the rail, and in the air. And at the end of the day, if the powers to be stop me from raising my voice on behalf of American workers, I will not have one single regret. I I still carry my commercial driver's license. I still have my place on the union seniority list. You'll find me back in Boston driving a tractor trailer, delivering equipment for Shaughnessy and Ahern. Because I have the protection of a union contract that gives me the freedom to speak my mind and to fight like hell. God bless the greatest station. Thank you very much.
So that was a real opportunity there given him by Donald Trump, President Trump. Never happened before.
Teamsters president, the first Teamsters president to ever speak to a Republican National Convention. I don't remember a speaker at a Republican convention railing against the Chamber of Commerce. That is new here. But he was fighting for workers, blue-collar workers all across the country. We heard from everyday Americans, then we heard from the Teamsters president. He credited former President Trump for opening up the doors of the RNC. And he said, after what happened Saturday, this is one tough SOB.
Yeah, that got a huge response from the crowd. Clearly, this is a group that President Biden would consider right in his wheelhouse, the unions. So this is an obvious direct attempt to pull those union voters away. And huge response from the crowd here. So a lot of people who are very open to it. Also, Linda Fornos, a Hispanic woman who spoke, she talked about the fact that she voted for Joe Biden last time around, and she said, I regret it and I won't make that mistake again, as they try to pull in more Hispanic voters to this cause.
She said it's time to wake up and smell the cafecito. So let's go to Kellyanne Conway and Karl Rove. They join us now. Karl, what about this effort? Everyday Americans and the Teamsters.
Well, I love these everyday Americans. This has become a standard part of every Republican convention, and sometimes they are the most compelling speakers available because they are ordinary Americans sharing their ordinary concerns, which are so important to the Republican message. I thought that was a very unusual speech by the Teamsters president. Look, let's be clear. There was something in it for both sides. Donald Trump gets to show that he is open to letting the voices of labor speak, and the Teamster president wanted to do this because if you look at the surveys, the workers in the trade unions like the Teamsters and those that are involved in making things have increasingly become Republican, while their leadership, like the president of the Teamsters, have remained Democrats. I noticed this was a guy who did not support Trump's tax cut to make American companies more competitive and make it easier to remain in America. He didn't support Trump's regulatory relief, which made it easier for companies to operate and stay in America and employ Americans. But he got tonight the opportunity to send a message to the Democrats: you're losing my people to people like Donald Trump, so you better open up your doors at the DNC and give me a bigger piece of the leadership opportunities.
Yeah. Kellyanne, your reaction when you saw President Trump, who you have worked with very closely in your career and at the White House, walk in here tonight?
I saw a man who knows he got a second lease on life. I see gratitude and graciousness. People obviously here are so excited it's palpable, but I think he got to witness what is now Donald Trump's Republican Party, Micah. The Hispanic woman who became a U.S. citizen, the African-American vote as seen through a wonderful South Carolina Tim Scott, the young people through Charlie Kirk, David Sachs representing the business community, and of course, the capper of the evening, Amber Rose, I guess a public figure, a popular figure in entertainment, but also you see the head of the Teamsters. Everybody that Trump's bringing together is reflected in these polls. He seems to burrow into the Democratic coalition now. He doesn't need to win 50% of any of those groups to become the next president. Last thing, make America wealthy. I think you saw tonight, not a contest of personalities, not personal insults. This is putting the Biden-Harris record on trial. Bidenomics versus Maganomics. The people who are young are saying, when am I going to get out of debt? When can I buy my first home? When can I get on with the natural accoutrements of an adult life? So people know gas and groceries are up, but you heard other things tonight. It's housing, it's utilities, it's repairs, it's maintenance. People think everyday life is unaffordable. That's unfair. They want the energy independence. They want to return to the party of the worker. And I feel this is Donald Trump showing a year after Brett and you moderated the debate on that stage with 8 or 9 other qualified men and women in the Republican Party and not Donald Trump. You're seeing that this is the party that Donald Trump is building, and he's bringing so many of those candidates that ran against him into this House this week to also address us.
that is a good point. That debate was here in the Fiserv Forum. The former president was not there. He is here tonight and is poised to potentially take advantage in a bump in the polls after this and after what happened Saturday. And joining us now, Shannon Bream, down on the convention floor. Shannon.
Okay, guys, I was here, got stuck in a spot we weren't anticipating being in, but we were right in the right place at the right time as President Trump was coming in, and this place went absolutely crazy. I don't think they've calmed down yet. They were very much anticipating and hoping that he would be here. He's here with that bandaged ear, and these folks have not calmed down yet. They were wrapped with attention. As you said, these everyday speakers made a real impact. People were clapping and cheering. We heard folks saying, I hear you, I feel you. So it very much resonated with the folks here. I gotta tell you, though, of all of the colorful delegates we've seen tonight, I want to introduce you to the one who's become the most popular. This is Lambo from Wisconsin, an official delegate. And while this place has been off the charts on the decibel levels, Lambo has yet to be moved by it. He's a faithful service dog, and as the folks get ready to wrap up here tonight, they're already buzzing with excitement about tomorrow.
Did you see that dog?
They're taking care of some convention business. They're going to do a couple of benedictions. Back to our panel, Britt Hume,
like peekaboo.
Harold Ford Jr. Dana.
Well, I think that the everyday Americans is working, and what you see here is this: we're living in the middle of a political realignment on both sides, and you can see that President Trump, one, is uniting the Republican Party and then growing it, reaching out to different types of people, his Latino vote, the Black American vote, especially Black men and young people. And I think that the Democrats are looking at this going, we can't afford to lose chunks of each of these groups and still win. Plus, I think that the President Biden's path to 270 keeps getting much more difficult as you have states like Nevada taken off the table, but adding battleground states perhaps in New Hampshire, maybe even Virginia. And so there's going to be just a huge amount of changes this week as you see that. And I can imagine that the Democrats are watching all of this going, I don't know how I feel about our chances in November, let alone the August convention.
Well, let's ask Harold about that. Harold, what do you say? What are you thinking here tonight?
So this has been, thus far, a great convention for the president and for the Republicans. I agree with everything about Sean O'Brien and how he presented. First, I think the president got what he wanted from that speech, to Carl's point.
But
what it's shaping up, he didn't get into it, so what's shaping up, the A's are the big issues in this campaign. Affordability is being talked about here, and abortion will be talked about at the convention that my party holds. The question becomes, which one of those is more powerful? Which one resonates more with voters? Other issues with NATO and national security will certainly play, but what the president and the Republicans have done thus far this evening, they have to view this as a huge success. And Democrats ought to be learning how do you counter this over the next few weeks.
Yeah, Britt, one of the things that really strikes me tonight is this really positive energy. There's a lot of enthusiasm, and that's something that, this is a race that most Americans for a long time said they didn't want to see Biden and Trump back in the ring. But this crowd, I haven't felt a crowd like this in quite some time.
But remember, these are Trump delegates. They populate this hall.
100%.
They can expect to be excited about it, especially, Martha, on top of what happened over the weekend. And the moment in this night, make no mistake about it, was when Trump walked out here, the bandage covering his ear, and how he seemed to them. Obviously, they were thrilled. He could have been their fallen hero. Now he's their surviving hero. And how he seemed, above all. He seemed subdued in a way as he was walking out. He seemed serious, and he was hearing the cheers. That used to, that revved him up in the past. He seemed more subdued tonight. He seemed at times nearly emotional, almost as if there may have been tears welling in his eyes. Obviously, you got old Lee Greenwood out there. He can make tears with anybody's eyes if you're the kind of person who likes him. And I think Donald Trump obviously is. But I think that's the moment tonight. It's still going on out there. I think I just saw he's out there shaking hands with Tucker Carlson. So he has his adherents at his side.
I talked to him a couple days over the past 2 days, and he feels blessed to have escaped that assassination attempt. He did sound to me like he's going to change something in this convention. He told me he was going to rip up a 20-page speech and do something different than what he was planning. Not the attack on on the Democrats. There'll be some of that, but he does, at least what he said, he's going to call for a unity in the country. If that message is delivered, Dana, it's one that's probably going to be welcomed in this hall and across the country.
I mean, I feel like what this is giving him is even more of the big bow, as George H.W. Bush called it, the big momentum, right? And so he had that a little bit in the polls even beforehand. The debate gave him more, and now tonight, this electric crowd with a band that he loves, and as Melania Trump even wrote in her statement, he loves music and he's throwing a party for his constituents, but he said, I love you all in America.
But just think about
And
this.
I'm watching, you're watching the Secret Service guys around him. I mean, just think about where we were a couple of days ago. For any person who went through what he went through on Saturday, to walk into a crowd like this, even though you know it is full of supporters, as that crowd was in Butler, Pennsylvania as well, except for one man. And this is a courageous human being, and I think that that is what is being felt across the country. Think about the things that have been, the arrows that have been swung at Donald Trump since he had, the audacity to beat Hillary Clinton pretty much back in 2016. I mean, he's been under fire, whether it's been impeachment, whatever you think about those efforts, right? They have been constant. And here he is accepting the nomination of his party once again. It's an extraordinary political story.
Do we still have Kellyanne and Crowrow plugged in? The indelible picture of that surviving the assassination attempt with his blood on his ear and his face, fist in the air. We've seen that picture many, many times over the past couple of days, Kellyanne. What do you think changed in this race since Saturday to today?
Well, that picture is going to be the picture of the 2024 presidential race, and years from now, people will be reading in history books about that moment. And it crystallized in the American people's view that this was a strong man who took adversity and overcame it. And tonight, I can just imagine the emotions in that box where he was sitting with his wife, his children, their wives, their husbands, and to know that just a few short hours ago, that he was in such a moment of danger, and yet tonight you saw the crowd's reaction, and I suspect all across America there are people who say, you know what, I may disagree with him or I may agree with him, but he is one tough customer and worthy of being president of the United States.
Kellyanne, thoughts on your party as we watch J.D. Vance wave to the crowd here, 39 years old. 7 years ago, he was a best-selling author with no particular designs on politics. He's come a long way in a short time.
Yeah, that's the American dream story, and J.D. Vance has lived it all the way from coming from nothing to going to Yale, meeting his wife there, the career he's had. I think he taps into the forgotten man, forgotten woman. But I will say this, President Trump was asked today, how do you plan to use J.D. Vance? And he said, I think I'll leave him in Pennsylvania. That's smart. Because, friends, if they get North Carolina, Pennsylvania, and Georgia, that's 270. It's over. You don't even have to go to those other weak states like Wisconsin, Michigan, Arizona, and the rest. So that's important here. Because if he parks him in, if you basically run a governor's campaign in Pennsylvania, that's a smart strategy. And he can deploy all these other people. The people he didn't pick for VP are going to be out there campaigning for him, like Rubio and Burton and Scott and the rest. I want to say one last thing. President Trump shows, again, this country loves a story of survival, resilience. We all face adversity. We all eat the dirt at some point, many points in our lives. What do we do with it? How do we handle it? And I think that he's giving everybody a little lesson in that. The Democrats have taken a big risk in making their campaign about Trump, Trump, Trump. Because this week is all about Trump, Trump, Trump. Does not have the Democrats anticipated.
Speaking of that, President Biden gave an interview to Lester Holt on NBC. Harold, for people who watch these interviews, there's not a lot of confidence that looking at the interview, he's getting his point across a lot of times. He went back to inflation was at 9% when he took over, which was really at 1.4%. He talked about a number of different things that were challenged. But his point about speaking to unity, is he going to keep that up as he goes on the campaign trail tomorrow?
I think he has to be better prepared and better organized for these presentations and interviews. You've got to talk about what you've done and what you're going to do going forward. This convention here and how this president has organized this is something Democrats need to pay very, very close attention to. We're going to be critical of J.D. Vance. He deserves some of it, but he's young. And the contrast between that youth and that energy with our ticket is going to be something on full display. And to your point, Brett, I want to hear the president's voice over the next few days. He was a little subdued tonight. I got to tell you, as an American, we're proud of him, and I want to see if he lives up to this changed approach that you and others have suggested and told us that he shared with you.
It will be fascinating to see. We have a number of more nights to go, and each night has a theme, and it's all about making America great again, making America wealthy again, making America safe again, and then
We're going to hear from Nikki Haley actually tomorrow night, which was unexpected, and then Wednesday is the Vice President's big night, and Thursday, of course, Donald Trump, the 45th president, will take the stage for his big moment here on this stage in Milwaukee. And an extraordinary open, lots of energy here tonight. We'll see how the rest of the week goes, Brian.
Everyday Americans are going to factor in big. You saw some of them talking about affordability. You saw some of them talking about struggles. We'll see more as this convention continues throughout the week. Thanks for joining us on night one of the Republican National Convention.
We'll be right back here tomorrow night.
Thank you for joining us. We hope you enjoyed our filming and taping Travels with Dr. John Stephenson, former Superintendent of Education, Commonwealth of Kentucky. Thank you so much. What a great evening and a great speeches. Just loved it immensely.